I walked away. I'm not gonna say I broke up, but I walked away. I'm the one who packed my stuff and I left.
She has been at the top of rap for over 15 years, and these celebrities who got close enough to her had to find out what it really costs to get down with Nicki Minaj. Well, some of them are still out here trying to recover, and every single one of them ends the same way, with regret. Safari Samuels. Before Nicki Minaj was a global superstar, before the wigs and the alter egos and all the platinum records, there was a quiet dude from Brooklyn named Safari Samuels standing right beside her, and for over a decade, most of the world had absolutely no idea he even existed. That was very much on purpose. Nicki has spoken openly about the fact that when she came up in the industry, being in a relationship was seen as bad for your career, especially if you were a woman. The thinking was simple: keep your love life hidden, make sure your male fans think you are available, and keep selling records. So Safari stayed out of the spotlight. He was her hype man, her creative partner, her right-hand man, her boyfriend, and publicly, he was none of those things. They met in the early 2000s through a rap group called Hood Tars, put together by Full Force's Bow-Legged Lou. Nicki got everyone's attention right away with her flow and her ability to switch up her voice and accent on command. When the group fell apart around 2005, Safari got pushed out first. Nicki left with him. That one move told you everything about where things stood between those two. For the next several years, while Nicki was working her way up from Queen's mixtapes to Young Money features to actual superstardom, Safari was right there in the room with her the whole time. He later came out and said in a Breakfast Club interview that he helped write songs for her on multiple projects, including work that ended up on the Pink Print, a claim that turned into a lawsuit before he eventually dropped the whole thing in 2016. By 2014, after about 10 years together, it was finished. The public found out the way people usually find out about these things, through deleted tweets, TMZ stories, and a video of Nicki allegedly running after Safari with a knife. Safari said later that he had to go to the hospital and that he lied to the police to keep her out of trouble. Nicki, on her side, accused him of stealing from her and spending her money on other women. She reportedly called his rap skills worthless on Twitter, and he came back months later with a song called Lifeline that came directly for both her and Meek Mill. What made the whole situation so hard to watch and so hard to look away from was that Safari clearly still loved her, even while he was burning everything down.
I got numb to it really quick though. There was still some stuff that would happen that would bother me. Then after a while, it's like, I don't know, with me, I get over stuff really quick. I don't know where I get it from. I thank God for that ability, but it's not easy. It's not easy at all, you know?
In his Breakfast Club sit-down, he called her his soulmate. He said he walked away because he had lost himself in the relationship, that he felt more like a worker than a partner, and underneath all the accusations and the diss tracks and the legal drama, you could still hear a man trying to make sense of losing the most important person in his life.
I walked away. I'm not gonna say I broke up, but I walked away. I'm the one who packed my stuff and I left.
The regret in Safari's case goes both ways. He regrets how everything fell apart, and by all accounts, a part of him regrets walking away in the first place. There is something genuinely painful about watching a man who spent 12 years helping build somebody's empire from the inside, only to end up on the outside watching her sit on top of the world. He helped write the story. His name just never made it onto the cover. Meek Mill. If Safari's story is about a slow, quiet falling apart, Meek Mill's story is about a man who flew straight into the fire and still does not fully understand how badly he got burned. Meek Mill came into Nicki's life in early 2015, right after the messy end of her relationship with Safari, and he confirmed they were together on Instagram with a caption talking about how she was his partner in taking over the world. It was fast, it was loud, and it was exactly the kind of relationship Nicki had spent her whole career trying to stay away from. For a while though, it actually worked. They toured together, performed together, went platinum together with All Eyes on You, and Nicki even went to court and testified for him at a probation hearing in 2015. Photos of a heart-shaped diamond ring got everyone talking about an engagement, though Nicki made it clear that was not officially happening. From the outside looking in, they looked like hip-hop royalty. Then the summer of 2015 came around, and the Drake situation showed up at their door. Meek went at Drake publicly, calling him out for supposedly using ghostwriters, and the whole internet picked a side. The problem was that Nicki and Drake were label mates who had been working together for years, and Meek had basically put her in a spot where there was no good option. Nicki told Apple Music later that she felt completely trapped during that time, saying she genuinely loved both of them and had no way out that did not hurt someone. That pressure never really went away for the rest of their relationship. By 2016, Meek was on house arrest, and the whole energy between them had changed. The Instagram posts slowed down. The closeness was gone. In January 2017, 2017, Nicki confirmed the breakup on Twitter in one simple, matter-of-fact line: she was single. The real regret, though, lives in what came after. Meek went public with abuse claims in 2020, which Nicki denied, and in the years since, Meek has gone from interview to interview where you can hear him trying to piece himself back together, trying to explain who he was back then and who he says he is now. In a conversation with Sway, he sat down and talked about what the relationship really cost him, both personally and professionally. She held Nas up right in front of him as an example of what a real man looks like after a breakup. She told Meek that he could learn from it. Whether he actually did is a whole other conversation, but the message was clear. You had something rare, you mishandled it, and now you have to live your life being compared to someone who did it right. Nas. Coming into 2017, fresh off the breakup with Meek, Nicki had made up her mind to go a whole year without getting into anything with anybody. She was focused on herself, healing from everything that had happened, staying in her own lane. And then, Nas walked in and changed the whole plan. The rumors got started in May 2017 when a photo of the two of them together at a restaurant called Sweet Chick started going around. They both had matching chains on. She showed up to his 44th birthday party, and then Nicki went on The Ellen Show and just completely melted on live television.
Well, first of all, I never dated. So I don't date. I always have someone and then become their girlfriend and then stay with that one person. So I went the first 6 months of the year just trying to really stay to myself.
And then Ellen pressed her on it, asking who it was that walked into her life and interrupted the plan. She smiled, said his name, said he was so dope, called him the King of Queens, admitted there had been sleepovers, said she was celibate, but then said she might just have to make an exception for this man because he was that impressive.
I said, don't you see how Nas carried himself? I said, Nas has never once said anything bad about me. He's never done anything negative toward me. He carried himself like a king.
The relationship quietly ran out of energy by early 2018, mostly because both of them were operating at such a high level that keeping anything personal going just was not realistic with their schedules. What stands out about Nas, though, is that after it ended, he carried himself completely differently from anyone else on this list. No interviews, no diss tracks, no shady posts, just silence and dignity, which is exactly what Nicki pointed to when she used him as an example to check Meek. Nicki said it straight up in an interview that Nas never once said a single bad thing about her, never did anything to try to hurt her, and handled the whole thing like a real one. But that is actually why Nas belongs on this list too, just in a different kind of way. Being held up as the perfect example of how to lose Nicki with grace is its own quiet type of hurt. He did absolutely everything right and still lost her. He was genuinely solid throughout the whole thing, and that decency just earned him the honor of being the man Nicki uses to shame everybody else. You can do everything right and still end up alone, just with a better reputation than the rest of the guys on this list. Drake and Nicki Minaj have been doing this back and forth thing for 15 years now, and honestly, at this point, nobody fully buys it when either of them says it is just friendship. They both signed to Young Money in 2009 under Lil Wayne, and right away, there was something there between them that went beyond just being on the same label. Drake has always been pretty open about his feelings when it comes to Nicki, at least in the way rappers are open about things, which means he puts it all in the music and then acts confused when people ask him about it in interviews. On Thank Me Later in 2010, he rapped about loving Nicki Minaj, about wanting to marry her just to say they did it. That same year, he posted a fake wedding announcement on Twitter telling everyone to call her Mrs. Aubrey Drake Graham. Nicki played along with it. They both acted like it was just a joke between close friends, but Drake's verse on Miss Me did not feel like a joke if you were really paying attention to how he delivered it. Then, 2014 came around, and Nicki sat Drake in a throne in the Anaconda video and basically performed the whole thing for him. He said later that it was one of the greatest moments of his life. Their song Only that same year was basically a public statement about all the hookup rumors, with Nicki rapping that she had never slept with Drake or Wayne, and Drake confirming the same thing, but then adding that he would be first in line once her relationship was over. That last part right there is the tell. The Meek Mill beef in 2015 put a real crack in everything they had built. Drake told Zane Lowe in 2016 that during that period he had basically stopped talking to Nicki altogether, and that she was somebody he cared about a lot. He chose his side, even though all three of them had started on the same side. A Young Money sit-down in 2017 eventually brought them back together, and they made up with public appearances and new music together, including No Frauds. But fans and people online have been saying for years that the way Drake acted during and after the Meek situation, pulling away from Nicki when she needed support, lining up with people who were coming against her, looked exactly like the behavior of someone who'd been turned down and did not take it well. Whether that reading is right or just a good fan theory is hard to say with certainty. What is not hard to say is that Drake has spent over a decade writing songs about this woman, performing with her, falling out with her, making up with her, and then going back to write more songs about her. They worked together again in 2021 on Seeing Green, and came back again on Pink Friday 2 in 2023. The chemistry between them is still right there, the unspoken tension is still right there with it, and Drake, in his own very particular way, is clearly still not over whatever this thing between them is, or was. Drake is probably the most emotionally honest rapper alive when it comes to putting his feelings in songs, sometimes to a point where it gets uncomfortable. With Nicki, those feelings have been sitting in his catalogue for 15 years and counting. That is a man who had a real shot at something he wanted badly, could not get it the way he wanted it, and has been working through that in public ever since. Lil Wayne. The Lil Wayne situation is genuinely one of the more interesting ones on this list because the whole thing is flipped from what you would expect. Wayne did not get close to Nicki because she was famous. He is the reason she got famous in the first place. Wayne has talked about how he found Nicki many times over the years, saying he came across a DVD of her freestyling and immediately knew she was something different. He signed her to Young Money in 2009 and spent years pushing her in front of every opportunity he could, putting her on tracks with the biggest names in the game, hyping her up in interviews, building her up from the ground. Their mentor and student connection was real, and everybody in the industry could see it. The rumors started picking up speed in 2013 when the High School video came out. In the video, Nicki and Wayne are in a mafia-style story that ends with the two of them in bed together, wrapped up close, looking like two people who are very comfortable with each other in a way that goes deeper than just working together. There was no kiss in the video, and that was very much Nicki's decision. She said in an MTV interview that Wayne had pushed for the kiss and she shut it down, and that Wayne was so respectful the whole time on set that he literally refused to put his hands on her without her permission. She called him sexy, she called him a piece of art. Then, in the very next breath, she called him her older brother. You can watch the behind-the-scenes footage from that video shoot and see the two of them laughing and moving around each other with a comfort that reads more like family than co-workers, which is exactly what makes the whole thing so hard to read from the outside. Nicki has said the same thing in every single interview on the subject. Wayne is her brother, her boss, the person who is most responsible for her career being what it is. Wayne has always said the same thing right back. But there is a version of this story where a man who genuinely cares about someone who built that person up from nothing into something extraordinary has to sit back and watch her become the most desired woman in hip-hop while he gets to hold the title of older brother. That version of the story carries a certain kind of weight that nobody ever fully talks about. They are still close to this day, and they recently got back in the studio together for a 2025 remix alongside Eminem called No Love. Whatever the real nature of the feeling between them is, it has clearly not gone anywhere after all these years. Eminem. This one, to be straight with you, is mostly a joke, but it is such a good one that it deserves its proper time in the story. In May 2018, Nicki dropped a verse on YG's Big Bank, where she rapped about having pulled Slim Shady. She posted an Instagram video of herself vibing to it, and a fan jumped in the comments and asked her flat out whether she was actually dating Eminem. She replied, yes. Eminem, who is not really the type of man to be out here playing around on social media, came back with, girl, you know it's true. And then Nicki turned the whole thing up a notch, saying they were supposed to keep it quiet until the wedding and that she would talk to him when she got home. The internet went absolutely crazy. Then Eminem got on stage at Boston Calling and brought the whole thing to the crowd. He asked everyone there how many of them wanted him to date Nicki Minaj. The crowd went wild. He said, well, me too, and told Nicki to just text him and they could talk about it. Nicki fired back on Twitter saying that the fact he was goofy and silly just like her made her love him, and she invited him onto her Queen album, joking thinking that the studio session would basically be their first date. He ended up on a track called Majesty, which came out on Queen in 2018. The whole exchange was clearly both of them playing the crowd, and they both knew it the whole time. The internet mostly knew it too. TMZ did a whole segment on it because of course they did, and then it died down about as quickly as it started. But here is what makes it worth putting on this list. Eminem stood in front of thousands of people at a live show and said out loud that he wanted to date Nicki Minaj. That is a man putting something personal into the open in front of a massive crowd, joke or not. And Eminem is also a man who has spent his whole career saying things with a smirk that he actually means. You get to decide for yourself which version this one was. They stayed cool professionally and worked together on Majesty that same year. The regret here is probably the smallest on the whole list, and honestly the least serious, but it is without a doubt the funniest, and sometimes that is the whole point. Future. The Future situation is one of those stories where everybody involved would much rather you moved on and forgot about it. And yet, here we are. Key's professional relationship started really building in 2017 when they linked up on You Da Baddest, a record from his HNDRXX album. The energy in the song was undeniable, and when they came out and announced the Nicki HNDRXX tour in June 2018 as co-headliners, the rumors went from quiet background chatter to loud front-page conversation overnight. The highest point of the rumor cycle came in July of that year, when Nicki posted an Instagram video of herself excitedly opening Chanel bags, with the caption, "Thank you, you know the way to a Barbie's heart." Around the same exact time, Future posted something on his Instagram story showing similar Chanel boxes with the caption, "If she's yours, she's yours." The blogs jumped on it immediately. Fans connected the dots. The whole internet was talking. People on Lipstick Alley later dug into Future's side of things and figured out that the video he posted was actually old footage that had already been out there, meaning it was not a fresh gift connected to Nicki at all. But by then, the story had already taken off, and the correction never gets the same attention as the original rumor. It never does. What made the whole situation feel real to so many people was the timing of everything. Nicki had just come out of the Nas situation, which itself had come right after the Meek Mill breakup. She was publicly single, publicly starting fresh, and publicly about to go on a major tour with a man who had a well-known reputation for moving through women and leaving chaos behind him. People close to the situation told Hollywood Life there was real mutual attraction there, and that the extended time together on tour was bound to take things somewhere, but nobody officially confirmed anything concrete. Nicki, in a 2018 Elle interview, kept her answer clean and simple. She was single and she was enjoying her freedom. That is the most either of them ever put on the record about it. The North American leg of the tour got cancelled in August 2018 when Future pulled out over what was officially called scheduling conflicts. Some people speculated the cancellation had more to do with whatever the personal situation was than with any production issues, but neither side ever confirmed that. The European dates went ahead without any reported problems. There were no dramatic statements, no tell-all interviews, no diss tracks from either direction. Within a few months, Nicki had moved forward completely, going public with Kenneth Petty late in 2018 and marrying him by 2019. Future moved on too. They were just two very successful, very busy people who spent a summer in each other's orbit and then went their separate ways. Future never addressed any of it directly. The story faded out on its own, but Nicki's Barbie Dreams track from that same year included a whole bar about Future that sits somewhere between a diss and a confession, dressed up as playful fiction in the same tradition as Big E's Just Playing. The song was a roast, not a confession, but you do not put someone in a song about your romantic dreams unless they at least crossed your mind for real at some point. Quavo. Now we get to the one that nobody can technically prove, but that nobody can fully deny either. The Quavo story does not live in press statements or official timelines. It lives in rap lyrics, and specifically in two songs from 2018 that were basically a public back and forth between two people about something personal that went down in private. It all starts with Motorsport in October 2017, a collaboration between Nicki, Migos, and Cardi B that was a big hit, and then almost immediately became a whole situation. The behind-the-scenes story came out in April 2018 when Nicki sat down for a Beats One interview with Zane Lowe and laid out exactly how she felt Quavo had let her down. Her version of events was that the track was originally supposed to be a Nicki and Migos collaboration, that Cardi B got added later without Nicki being fully in the loop, and that when Cardi suggested in a separate interview that Nicki's verse was not ready when Cardi came on board, basically making Nicki look like she was lying, Quavo said nothing and left her hanging. And then Then, Nicki said something that suddenly made the whole thing feel way more personal than just a music industry dispute. She said Quavo had texted her during the whole controversy, telling her he would back her up on Twitter, but only if you were my girl, LOL. She said that hurt her because he was somebody she genuinely loved and cared about. She said he had hurt her feelings 52 times. That number right there, 52. You do not throw out a number that specific unless you were actually counting. Moving ahead to August 2018, when Nicki dropped Queen, she put a few bars on Barbie Dreams about Quavo, rapping that he wanted to get with her, but his girl caught him cheating, and now he was at home crying about it. That was not a subtle move, that was a shot. Quavo fired back in October when Quavo Huncho dropped, coming with a track called Huncho Dreams that was built on the exact same concept as Barbie Dreams and written specifically to answer it. He referenced the 52 hurt feelings directly. He rapped about buying her 2 Chanel bags, which tied straight back to that July Instagram situation. He rapped about making her scream. He threaded the whole verse with details specific enough that major outlets including E! News and Complex read the whole thing as a lyrical confirmation that something real had happened between them. Nicki never said a single word publicly in response to Huncho Dreams. That silence said enough on its own. She was with Kenneth Petty by November 2018 and married by 2019. The professional side of things eventually got worked out. In 2022, when Migos was falling apart internally, Quavo and Takeoff picked Nicki for their Unk and Few collab See Bout It over Cardi B. That choice said something all by itself. You do not bring someone back for your comeback record if things ended badly enough to make working together impossible. There was clearly still real respect between them, and maybe something a little warmer than just respect. But Huncho Dreams is still out there in the world. The Chanel bags are still referenced in it. 52 is still a very specific number, and Quavo, who made an entire song about a woman he is implying he had and then lost, is still in a lot of ways answering the same question Safari was answering years before him. What does getting close to Nicki Minaj actually cost you? Based on the evidence across all 8 of these stories, the answer is the same every single time: more than you were ready for. She is the one they keep writing the songs about. She is the one they keep going back to reference years after everything is supposedly over. She is the one they measure every new relationship against without ever saying her name out loud. And she, for her part, has moved forward, got married, had a son, and built something that has outlasted every single one of these situations. What do you think about these rappers? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.